Hello everyone, I am Piyush Goyal and I welcome you to Voxcel. So in this video we're going to discuss reading, and this reading will be of Academic Book 19th, third test reading passage 3. So we have already discussed passage 1 and passage 2. So if you haven't seen those videos, you can watch them after watching this video. So for right now, I want your undivided attention so that you can understand how to solve this particular passage and how to solve these question types. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So first what we will do is we will read the title of the passage. So the title says is the era of artificial speech translation upon us. So the our title is asking us the question that whether the era of artificial speech translation, meaning to say translating from one language to another language through AI, use of AI, is that particular era period upon us. So it's asking us some tough type of question. So there should be some answers in it. So, subtitle says, once the stuff of science fiction, technology that enables people to talk using different languages is now here. But how effective is it? But we don't know the effectiveness of this particular technology. So, the paragraph may be dealing with this kind of information like how we are using this technology, we are using this technology, whether it is effective or not, or whether there are some certain negatives of this technology or not, or what will happen in the future. Maybe these kind of information may or may not be given in the paragraph, but it helps us to form some sort of idea of the context. So what we do is, after reading the title of the passage, we go straight to the questions and see what kind of questions we are gonna deal with. So we have to deal with question number 27 to 40. So let's see. For 27 to 30, okay, let me highlight this. For 27 to 30, we have to deal with MCQs. So for it's the first paragraph, so that's a good thing for us. So from the first paragraph, we can find the question number 27, and all the other questions will be after that. And for 31 to 34, we have to complete the sentence with the correct ending. So we have to see which ending suits which sentence the best. So we have to mark that particular ending with that paragraph. These questions are also almost always in sequence, so we don't have to worry about that. Wherever you find 31, almost always you will find after that 32 and then 33 and then 34. And for 35 to 40, we have to write yes, no, or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first question, number 27. So what we will do is we will read the question number 27 and its option, and then see whether what is the option in the first paragraph, because we don't have to worry about the location in this question. They have given it in the question itself. So the question is, what does the reader learn about the conversation in the first paragraph? So there must be some type of conversation, and we have to tell that what the reader learns about this conversation, like what is the takeaway from this conversation. A option, the speakers are communicating in different languages, whether they were talking in different languages. B, neither of the speakers is familiar with the environment. So the environment they are talking in, neither of the speaker is familiar with that. They don't know in which environment their other speaker is talking about. Basically, C, the topic of the conversation is difficult for both speakers. The topic is difficult for both, not for one, but for both. The topic is difficult. D, aspects of the conversation are challenging for both speakers. So, whatever the aspects of the conversations are, they are challenging for both. Okay, now you have to be very careful about the similarities here. They're saying neither speaker is familiar with the environment, and they're saying that the aspects of the conversation are challenging for both. Like they know where the other person is, or what kind of other person environment, or what kind of conversation, or what topics the other person is talking about, but the way they are conversing is basically difficult. Let's see what kind of information is given in the first paragraph. Noise, Alex Webel tells me, is one of the major challenges that artificial speech translation has to meet. So this particular person is saying that noise is the major challenge, one of the major challenges, not the major, one of the major challenges that AI translation has to overcome. A device may be able to recognize speech in a laboratory or a meeting room, but will struggle to cope with the kind of background noise I can hear in my office surrounding Professor Webel as he speaks to me from Kyoto Station in Japan. So they are talking that in laboratory or in a meeting room, device may be able to recognize speech because the environment is silent. But when there is a background noise, so like at a station, Kyoto Station in Japan, so let's see what they're saying. I'm struggling to follow him in English on a scratchy line that reminds me we are nearly 10,000 kilometers apart, and that distance is still an obstacle to communication, even if you're speaking the same language as we are. So they're saying that distance is a hindrance in communication, even if both speakers are like using the same language. We haven't reached the future yet. If we had, Webel would have been able to speak more comfortably in his native German, and I would have been able to hear his words in English. So Webel would have been able to speak in German, and this particular person and other person is, let's see, other person will be able to understand in English. Okay, now you have some time to tell me the answer. So let I forgot to tell you, before answering the question, I will give you roughly 10 seconds. So if you need more time than that, you can pause the video and then you can resume after finding the answer. So your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So the answer to this question, yes, but is the answer to this question according to you is A, B, C, or D? Yes, the answer is D. I'm gonna tell you why. So, if the A cannot be our answer because they are saying they are using the same language, and question is saying, option is saying different languages. Obviously, A cannot be our answer because we are using the same language, not different language. B, neither of the speakers is familiar with the environment. Yes, one, at least one is familiar because here they are saying, I can hear my office surrounding Professor Webel as he speaks to me from Kyoto Station in Japan. So at least one speaker is familiar where the other speaker is speaking from, or the environment in which the other speaker is speaking in. C cannot be our answer because there is no mention whether the topic is difficult for both speakers or not. But D, they're saying aspects of the conversation are challenging for both speakers. Why? Because, let me highlight it with yellow, because they are here it is saying that, okay, I am struggling to this, and this reminds him that we are nearly 10,000 kilometers apart, and distance is still an obstacle to communication if you are speaking the same language as we are. Let me just write the location here, and then I will tell you if you have. Okay, so some will be saying that why A is not our answer because here they are saying Webel in German and other person in English. It is not the answer. Let me do this in red. It is not the answer because this is the imaginary case. If we had, it is hypothetical. So they are saying that if this would have been the case, we would have been able if this was the case, or if this had the case, we would have been able to talk in our native languages. Like Webel's native language is German, and the automatic translation would have translated it in English. And this particular person that is referring to himself or herself as I would have been able to understand in English. But that's an imaginary scenario, not at present. At present, they are both speaking the same language. I hope it is clear. Moving to the next question, number 28. What assists the electronic translator during lectures at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology? So we have to find out what thing helps assist, in simpler terms means helps. What helps the electronic translator during lectures at this particular Institute of Technology? So we are given the locator word Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry. I don't know the exact pronunciation. Karlsruhe, something like that. Okay, or Karlsruhe, something like that. A option, the repeated content of lecture. So does the repeated content of lectures help electronic translator during the lectures? Like the translator, it has been fed with the repeated content, so it was able to translate it more easily. B, the students' reading skill or the reading skill of students help the translator. The language is used, okay, or D, the lecturer's technical ability. So we have to find out what helped electronic translator during lectures at this particular place. So at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, this is our location, obviously, locator word, where he is a professor of computer science. Webel and his colleagues already gave lectures in German that their students can follow in English via an electronic translator. So here he is speaking German, which their students can easily understand as translator is translating in English. The system generates text that students can read on their laptops or phones. So students are able to read on their laptops or phones. So the process is somewhat similar to subtitling. So it's somewhat similar to subtitles. So whenever you are seeing movie in other language than native, so what people do is they choose the option of subtitles, and whatever the person is speaking at that particular time, it is written below the screen. Okay, so if it helps the lecture speak clearly, it helps the lecturers speak clearly, don't have to compete with background chatter and say much the same thing each year. Okay, so it is helping the lecturer because they don't have to compete with the background chatter and they're saying the same thing each year. So now you have some time to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So I hope you figured out the answer, and the correct answer is option number A. I hope you were able to find out the correct answer, why it is the correct answer, and why other answers are not the correct answer. First, let's see why it is the correct, why other answers are not the correct answer. First, we will see. So here they're saying that here there is no doubt, if you have marked B option, no doubt that there is mention of reading, but it is not clearly written anywhere in the text that, let me do this, it is not mentioned in the text that the student's reading skills helps the translator. They just saying that student used to read the text on their laptops or their phones. But is it because of their reading skills they were able to follow the lecture? No, this is not the case. And there is no mention of helping the translator. So B option cannot be our answer. So the language is used. So this is not the option that have the translator, and there is no mention of obviously lecturer's technical ability. So why A is our answer where it is mentioned. Let me change the color. So here it is mentioned. It helps the lecturers speak clearly, don't have to compete with background chatter and say much the same thing each year. So it helps basically what helps the translator that lecturers they speak clearly. So it helps the electronic translator to translate things, and also what helps the translator that they do not have to compete with the background chatter. So lecturers speaking clearly, background chatter, and same thing each year. So only repeated content. This means the same thing. So let me mark the location here. I hope it is clear. So here is helping the translator. Here they're just giving the background information, okay, how it works and something like that. But here is how something helps the translator to work efficiently, because in that particular surrounding there is no background chatter. Lecturers they speak clearly and the content is much the same. Clear? Moving to the 29th question. When referring the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the writer suggests that. So this is our locator word. So when the writer is mentioning about this particular book or whatever it is, he suggests that or she suggests that the Babel fish was considered undesirable at that time. So if you don't know about the Babel fish, don't worry about that. It will be written as it is. So this particular fish was considered undesirable. Like people didn't want this fish at that particular time. B. The book was not seriously intending to predict the future, so it was not serious to predict the future. C. Artificial speech translation was not a surprising development. So this particular thing was not a surprising development. D. Some speech translation techniques are better than others. So here is comparison. Some are better than others. Okay. If there is some comparison, we will say D. Let's see where it is written. The idea of artificial speech in translation has been around for a long time. Douglas Adams' science fiction novel The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, published in 1979. So there is our location. Featured a life form called the Babel fish, which, when placed in the air, enabled a listener to understand any language in the universe. It came to represent one of those devices that technology enthusiasts dream of long before they became practically realizable, like the TVs, flat enough to hang on walls, objects that we once could only dream of having, but that are now commonplace. Now devices that look like prototype Babel fish have started to appear, riding a wave of advances in artificial translation and voice recognition. Okay. So here is our information. Now you will have some time to tell me the answer and your time starts now. Okay. Time's up. And if you need more time, so you can pause the video and then after finding the answer or after marking the answer you can resume. But for now I'm going to tell you the answer, and our answer is A, B, C or D. What have you marked? Yes, our answer is option number C. I hope you got it correct, but if you didn't, don't worry, I'll tell you why this is our answer. So here it is written that it came to represent one of those devices that technology enthusiasts dream of long before they practically became realizable. And then they have given an example of what kind of devices they are. And from one of was Babelfish. Now let's see why A is not the answer. First, let me First, we will discuss why A is not the answer, because there is no mention that Babel fish was undesirable. They have just mentioned that there was a life form called Babel fish, and it is used to translate any language in the universe. But whether people desired it or it was not desirable, it is not mentioned that it is not desirable. Okay, so A cannot be our answer. B, this book was not seriously intending to predict the future. So here they were predicting the future, that in the future these kind of things may be like things like Babel fish may be there. So obviously this cannot be our answer. D, some speech translation devices are better than others, so we have no comparisons given to us. So this cannot be our answer. So what are we left with? We are left with option number C. Oh, hopefully it is clear. So let me first mark it. Let me mark the location here. This is question number 29. So again, I'm just gonna repeat it why this is the answer, because they're saying that it was not a surprising development, and they have said that Babel fish, which placed near here, could like you can understand any language in the universe with the help of this, and it came to represent one of those devices that technology enthusiasts dream of long before they became practically realizable. So it is one of those devices like flat TVs or something like that. So Babel fish or device like this is one of those devices that enthusiasts were dreaming of. So when it like became practical or realizable, so they were not surprised because they were already anticipating such kind of device. Okay, so if you are anticipating some event in your life and when it happens, you will not be surprised. You will say, "Yeah, I was expecting that." So when you will be surprised when something out of the blue happens in your life. So you will say, "Wow, it surprised me because I was not expecting it." So if you are expecting something, you will not be surprised. Okay. Next question. I hope it is clear. Number 30th. What does the writer say about sharing earpieces? So now we have to tell what does the writer say about sharing earpieces. So we are sharing earpieces. It is something people will get used to doing. So people will get used to this. B, the reluctance to do this is understandable. So people will be reluctant and it is understandable. So this is opposite to A. Here it is saying that people will be like perfectly okay with this because they are used to it. But B is saying they will be reluctant. They are not willing to do this, and it is understandable because of hygiene or something like that. We will see, but it is written in the text. The equipment will be unnecessary in the future. Whether the earpiece will be unnecessary in the future, D, it is something a few people need to worry about. So it is not a common worry. It will be just a few people that will worry about, others will not have to worry about sharing earpieces. Maybe it's so cheap that people will not be sharing that, they will be buying their own. Maybe it's so expensive that people will be used to sharing it. It could be anything. Okay, let's read further. Now devices like that, okay, at this stage, however, they seem to be regarded as eye-catching novelties rather than steps towards that what Webel calls making a language transparent society. They tend to be domestic devices or applications suitable for hotel check-ins, for example, providing a practical alternative to speaking travelers English. The efficiency of the translator is less important than the social function. So till now we haven't read anything about earpieces, so we'll continue reading. However, professionals are less inclined to be patient in a conversation. Founder and CEO at the Waverly Labs, Andrew Ocha, observes, to redress this, Waverly is now preparing a novel model for professional applications which entails performance improvements in speech recognition, translation accuracy, and the time it takes to deliver the translated speech. Still, nothing about the databases. We'll continue further. For a conversation, both speakers need to have devices called pilots. translator earpieces. So here is something about earpieces. So this is our context we have to worry about. So first there is a name. I will just highlight it. So if we need for the further questions, we will be able to locate it easily. And here, Babel Transparent Society. I am just marking it randomly so that if I have to use these words, because we have to do other questions as well, so we will be able to identify the information quickly. Mm, Hotel check-ins. Okay, I think that's enough for this paragraph. And Waverly preparing new models for professional applications, performance improvement, speech translation accuracy, something about accuracy. Okay, translated speech. So now we will focus here. For a conversation, both speakers need to have devices called pilot. So obviously, you both need these devices called earpieces in their ears. We find that there is a barrier with sharing one of the earphones with a strangers, says Pocha. So they said that they find that there will be a barrier. Barrier means some sort of hindrance, something that is stopping you to do what? To share your earphones with strangers, says Pocha. That can't have been totally unexpected, and it is not unexpected. The problem would be solved if earpiece translators became sufficiently prevalent that strangers would be likely to already have their own in their ears. Whether that happens and how quickly will probably depend not so much on the earpieces themselves, but on the prevalence of voice controlled devices and artificial translation in general. So, whether this happens or not, it will depend on these things. So, obviously, our answer is in this particular paragraph, and you have some time to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So I hope you figured it out. You arrived at the correct answer, and our answer is option number B. That's right. The reluctance to do this is understandable because here they're saying we find that there is a barrier with sharing earpieces, okay, with strangers, and that can't have been totally unexpected. So if it is not unexpected, obviously means you are expecting this. So it is, if you are expecting something, and that is obviously understandable. Okay, so here there is no mention of unnecessary equipment being unnecessary in the future. There is no mention of that, and there is no mention that only few people will need to worry about it. And obviously, there is opposite, so people will not be getting used to sharing earpieces. Hope it is clear why B is our answer. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so multiple choice questions we have completed. Now moving to the next set of questions, 31 to 34. So what we have to do is we have to match the sentence endings. We have to write the correct letter in front of the questions. So in these questions, you will not like find these sentences as it is. You will find obviously the synonyms or the paraphrasing of the sentences and the options, but you will have to like understand which option suits the best ending, which is the best ending that suits the particular question. And these questions are almost always in sequence. So 31st, speech translation methods are developing fast in Japan. So we haven't read anything about Japan, obviously. So we have just read that somewhere about here we have read in Japan or things like that. Oh, sorry about that. So we haven't read anything about that. So I don't think so. We have read. So we'll continue forward. So again, just reading the question. Speech translation methods are developing fast in Japan. So let's see. So we'll move forward. The problem would be solved. Okay, we have already read this. So from here, Weber highlights the significance of certain Asian nations. So here is about Asian nations, noting the voice translation has really taken off in countries such as Japan. Here is about Japan. So let's see. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna understand the question and see what kind of information is given here, so that we can like match our answer with this particular question. So speech translation methods are developing fast in Japan, and we will read the options. But there are concerns about this, as systems do not need to conform to standard practices, but they are far from perfect. Okay, it could be the answer. Despite the noise issues, okay, it can also be the answer. Because translation is immediate, okay, it could be. And have an awareness of good manners. So I don't think so. F is grammatically correct, so F cannot be our answer. But other options can be our answer, because whatever your option is, it should be grammatically correct. So we'll read forward. But is this particular thing where it is written developing fast? So Weber highlights the significance of certain Asian nations, including the voice translation, has taken off in countries such as Japan with a range of systems. There is still a long way to go, though. A translator system needs to be simultaneous, like the translator's voice speaking over the foreign politician being interviewed on the TV, rather than in the sections that oblige speakers to pause after every few remarks and wait for the translation to be delivered. It needs to work offline for situations where internet access isn't possible, and to address apprehensions about the amount of private speech data accumulating in the cloud, having been sent to servers for processing. So, obviously, our answer should be from here to here. Okay, and you have some time to tell me the answer, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So our answer is, what is our answer? So if you need more time, again I'm saying that you can pause the video and you can continue reading, and after finding the answer you can resume the video. Okay, so what is our answer? Let me write here first. Our answer to this question is option number C. They are far from perfect. And how we can say, so where it is written, are developing fast in Japan. So first and foremost, tell me the location of this particular word, developing fast in Japan. Yes, has really taken off in countries such as Japan. So taken off, basically the thing is becoming more and more popular. It is developing basically in this particular context. And where it is written, this but they're far from perfect. Yes, there is still a long way to go though. So although they have let me highlight this. The voice translation system has taken off, though there is a long way to go. The long way to go just simply means they are not ready yet. So they are not the finished article. So they have scope for improvement. So this is our question number 31. I hope it is clear, because there is no mention about, but there are concerns about this. So there is long way to go, but there is nothing about concerns. Standard practices, there is nothing mentioned about that. Again, there is no mention of other. This is the clear sentence ending for this. Moving on to 32nd, TV interviews. So we have read obviously about some sort of TV interviews also. So we will see TV interviews that use translation voiceover methods are successful. So we have to tell those TV interviews, those TV interviews that use translation voiceover methods are successful. So again, we have read here. So you have some time to tell me the answer. It is quite easy, I believe, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And our answer to this is, let me write it here, option E. It was quite easy. So I will tell you why where it is written. So here they're saying TV interviews that use translation voice methods are successful. They are, if you like, write A, but there are concerns about this. There is nothing about that. I will tell you where it is written. So here they're saying a translation system needs to be simultaneous. Simultaneous means side by side. So immediate, basically, in other words. Like translators voice speaking over the foreign politician being interviewed on the TV. Rather than the sections that oblige speakers to pause every few remarks and wait for translation to be delivered. So instead of this, we need our translation to be immediate. Only then you will be considered successful. So let me write here question number 32. Hope it is clear. Okay, number 33. Future translation systems should address people appropriately. Okay, so they are saying that the future systems, translation system, they should address people appropriately. Let's see where the location of this particular question is, where they need to be addressed appropriately. So we will continue reading from here. It needs to work offline. Okay, we have read here, but it is nowhere it is written appropriately. So we will read from this particular paragraph. Systems not only need to cope with physical challenges such as noise, they will also need to be socially aware by addressing people in the right way. Okay, so there is our location. So let me do this. Now tell me what is the answer to this. So we will read further. So maybe the answer may be a bit further, that is clear. Some cultural traditions demand solemn respect for academic status, for example, and it is only polite to respect this. Etiquette sensitive artificial translators could relieve people of the need to know these differing cultural norms. At the same time, they might help to preserve local customs, slowing the spread of habits associated with international English, such as its readiness to get on first name terms. All right. So you have some time to tell me the answer. This is our location, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. So our answer to this question is, let me write here, option F. I hope you got it correct. Now I will tell you why this is our answer, where it is written. So future transit system. So here it is written will. So obviously it's about the future. So should address people appropriately. Appropriately means in the right way. Addressing people in the right way. This is the one thing. And other thing is some. Let me highlight this. Some culture tradition demands solemn respect for academic status, and if they are etiquette sensitive, it will help them to do this. So that's why, an awareness of good manners. Good manners, we need to say etiquette sensitive. Hope it is clear. This is our question number 33. I hope it is clear. Moving on to 34th question. Users may be able to maintain their local customs. So we have read local customs here somewhere. Yes, here are local customs. So and maintain. So you have to tell me where is maintain written, and you have to tell me the answer, and you have 10 seconds for that, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And now I'm going to write the answer here. The answer to this question is option B. As systems do not need to conform to standard practices. So here it is written in this particular sentence. Let me write the location first, then I will tell you why it is our answer. Question number 34. Okay, so here they are saying maintain their local customs. So maintaining, they are written preserve local customs. Okay, but and even if you're not able to understand like why they do, conform means they are like doing what they are expected to do. Okay, and they do not need to like conform to their standard practices. So here they're saying it also slows the habit of spreading English habits associated with English language, such as readiness to get on the first name terms. Like in English, usually instead of sirs or something like that, people usually call by their first name, even if they are quite older than them. Okay, so it's acceptable, totally acceptable in English speaking countries or where English is a prominent language. But in many Asian countries, it is seen as a sign of disrespect if you call someone who is older than you or like just much older than you with their first name. So it will not need to conform to that practices of this English speaking. I hope it is clear. Moving on to the next set of questions, 35 to 40. 35th. Language translation systems will be seen as very useful throughout the academic and professional worlds. So the question is saying that, okay, let me change the color for this. Language translation systems, they will be seen as very useful and throughout the academic and professional worlds, like in the academic or professional worlds, language systems will be seen as very useful. If that is the case, if the writer is saying this, we will say it's yes. And if the writer is saying no, like it no, if it will not be seen as very useful, it will be seen as like something that is hindrance to the development of human mind or whatever the reason may be, we will say no. And if we don't know whether it will be useful or not, we will say not given. So I believe we haven't read anything about the usefulness in academic and professional world. So we will continue reading forward. Luckily, we haven't read, I think, before, like in these paragraphs about this, but it will not be the case always. There, you may have to go back up for this particular set. Although the answer to 36 will be after 35 and 37 will be after 36, similarly, 38 will be after 37 and so on, but it is not mandatory that 35 will be after 34. In this particular reading, we haven't read about academic and professionals here before this, so we are going to read after that. But if it was not the case, if it was in the previous paragraph, we would have read that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this paragraph. Professors and other professionals. So here's something about academics and other professionals. Will not outsource language awareness to software though. If the technology matures into seamless, ubiquitous artificial speech translation, it will actually add value to language skills. Whether it will help conduct people conduct their family lives or relationships is open to question, though one noteworthy possibility is that it could overcome the language barriers that often arise between generations after migration, leaving children and their grandparents without a shared language. Okay. So from here to here, there's something about professionals and academics, and you have some time to tell me the answer, whether it will be yes, no, or not given. And your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And our answer to this question is, let me write it here. Drum roll, please. And answer is no. And let me just mark the location here first. identify. Why it is no? If you have written yes or not given, I will tell you why it is no. Here they say that these two professionals will see it as a useful tool, but here they're clearly saying that they will not outsource. So they will not outsource language awareness to software. So they will not use these software. So if they will not outsource their work, they will not use this software. So how they will see it as a useful tool? Obviously, that's why answer is no. Moving on to the next question. Sorry about that. Excuse me. So next question. The overall value of automated translation to family life is yet to be shown. So we have to find whether the overall value of this particular system, automated translation system, to family life is yet to be shown, meaning to say it is not like established, yet established that it is valuable to the family life. If that's the case, then yes. But if it has been established that it is quite valuable for our family life, we'll say no. And if it is not given like whether it is valuable or whether it has established itself or not, we will say not given. Okay, we'll continue from here because here's something about family. If the technology matures into seamless, ubiquitous artificial speech translation, it will actually add value to language skills. Whether it will help people conduct their family lives. So here's something about family lives or relationships is open to question. Okay, though one noteworthy possibility is that it could overcome language barriers. Okay, now from here to here is our answer. So tell me. Okay, I will just keep it a bit long. Deliberately, I'm keeping it a bit long so that you can find your answer yourself if you're able to find it, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And our answer, sorry about that. And our answer to this question is, let me write it here. Yes, just 1 second, guys. And our answer is yes, and I will mark it here. Now, can you tell me why it is yes if you have written? Because it is written clearly. Is okay, is open to question. If something is open to question, meaning to say the debate has not been settled yet. So whether it helps their people to conduct their family lives or their relationship is open to question, meaning to say it has not been established just yet. Its debate is still ongoing. Clear? Moving to the 37th question. Automated translation could make life more difficult for immigrant families. So here they're saying that this particular translation, it could make life more difficult for immigrant families. So but we have read something about immigration, migration. Here it is. So let's read it again. Though one noteworthy possibility is that it could overcome the language barriers that might often arise between generations after migration, leaving children and their grandparents without a shared language. Okay, so this is our location, and you have to tell me the answer whether it is yes, no, or not given, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. And our answer to this question is, let me, no. I hope you got it right. Here it is written, it is saying that life will become more difficult, but here they are clearly saying that one noteworthy possibility is that it could overcome the language barriers. So over, if somebody, if something is helping you to overcome something, that means it is helping you to solve that particular thing. So it is making that thing easier for you, not difficult. Clear? Moving on to 38th question. Visual aspects of language translation are being considered by scientists. So what now scientists are considering visual aspects of language translation. So if that's the case, we'll say yes. But if scientists do not care about the visual aspects, we'll say no. And if we don't know whether these things are being considered right now or not, we'll say not given. So let's see. Whatever uses it is to put, sorry, whatever uses it is to put to is, sorry about that, whatever uses it is put to, though it will never be as good as the real thing. Even if voice morphing technology simulates the speaker's voice, their lip movements won't match and they will look like they are in a dubbed movie. The contrast will underline the value of shared languages and the value of learning them. Sharing a language can promote a sense of belonging and community. As with international scientists, so here's about international scientists who use English as a lingua franca where their predecessors used Latin. Though the practical need for a common language will diminish, the social value of sharing one will persist, and software will never be a substitute for the subtle but vital understanding that comes with knowledge of language. Okay, so there is something about scientists. Now, you have some time to tell me. Let me do this. Okay, you have some time to tell me the answer to this, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up, and our answer to this is, let me write it here, not given. Okay, why it is not given? Because where is visual aspects written? Can you tell me the like paraphrasing of visual aspects? Yes, here it is. Lip movements. But whether these things are being considered by scientists or not, we do not know about that. That's why this question answer will be not given. Clear? So here they're just saying that their lip movement won't match and they will look like they're in a dubbed movie. So the contrast will underline the value of shared languages and something like that. But whether scientists are considering this particular aspect or not, we don't know about that. Okay, 39th question. International scientists have found English easier to translate into other languages than Latin. So we have read about international scientists, we have read about English and Latin. So when the answer will be yes, when they found that English is easier to translate into other languages than Latin, meaning to say translating from English to Latin is more difficult than translating English into other languages. So here is something like that. Sharing a language can promote a sense of belonging and community with the international scientists who use English as their lingua franca, where their predecessors used Latin. Though the practical need for a common language will diminish, the social value of sharing one will persist. So here is our location, and it's quite easy to understand the answer. And your answer, you have some time for this, and your time starts now. Okay, time's up. I'm just gonna first highlight this and I'm gonna write the location. Just let me write the location here. Question number 30. And our answer to this question is not given. They have talked about like scientists nowadays use English while scientists in the past they used Latin, but there is no comparison of translating English into other languages or Latin, which is more difficult. So we don't know anything about that. We'll say not given. Clear? Last question. As far as language is concerned, there is a difference between people's social and practical needs. So we're talking that as far as language is concerned, so there is some difference between people's social needs and their practical needs. Like on social level and on their practical levels, there is some difference while if we talk about language or use of language, something like that. So we have already read it here, we will read it again. Though the practical need for a common language will diminish, the social value of sharing one will persist. So there is about practical need and there is, sorry about that, and there is something about social value. And the software will never a substitute for the subtle but vital understanding that comes with knowledge of language. So our location should be from here to here. So you have some time for this until I mark the location and write the question number here. And your time starts now. And your time's up. And our answer to this is yes. I hope it is quite clear. So there is difference. Yes, they are saying that though practical need will diminish, but social value will persist. There is some difference according to that. So that's it for this one. This reading section. We have completed this reading section. I hope everything is clear to you. So if something is not clear, you can comment, ask us. Okay, and you can rewatch this video if you are not sure about any particular question. It will help you to clarify more. And if you need our help, I'm gonna leave the link in the like comments or the description box. You can contact us there. And that's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.